What's up everybody, it's Joe with J Blake Photo, and today I want to take a look at version 1.7 of LumaFusion. LumaFusion was recently updated about a month ago to include a ton of new features, and I just wanted to go through it just a little bit since it is my editor of choice on the iPad. Alright, so you know, if you've watched any of my previous videos, that I love using LumaFusion on the iPad Pro for video editing. That, along with Final Cut Pro, are really my two primary editors. So about a month ago, LumaFusion came out with an update, version 1.7, that included a lot of additional features, fixes, tweaks, and new features. So I wanted to take a look at this really quick, kind of run through them for you, and just kind of see what each additional new feature or change does in this release. So one of the first things that you'll notice now with this release of LumaFusion 1.7 is the addition of Storyblocks. For those of you that don't know, Storyblocks is a stock footage site where you can, with a subscription service, have access to a lot of their stock footage, stock clips. And so now it is directly embedded into LumaFusion. I'm sure that this is a play to kind of find synergy between these two businesses, where people are looking for stock footage to be able to add to their projects. And if they already have a Storyblocks account, then it is just built right into LumaFusion. There's no additional step that you need to take to be able to get that into your library. And if not, then I'm sure that for a lot of people this will be an enticing option to add this maybe as a monthly service for your video production needs. If you're doing corporate videos or anything where you find yourself needing a lot of stock footage, this might be a huge advantage for you, especially if you're doing a lot of video editing on the go. This is definitely something that you will be able to utilize. Now, it does come with a couple of free clips here. All the other clips that are not free, of course, they've got the Storyblocks watermark right there in the middle. I'll admit, having scrubbed through just a few of these are super high quality videos. You know, the quality of these is really great. And I'm sure that there's a lot of folks that would be able to utilize this. It's just people running through a field. I don't know what that is. But in some cases, with situations like this, with partnerships like this, just know that I'm sure the folks over at LumaFusion are getting a piece of your subscription. Although, if you love using LumaFusion, that's probably a great way to support the app in addition to your purchase price. Looks like they've got both 4K and 1080p clips in here, drone footage, just all sorts of good stuff in here. So lots and lots of options. Looks like you can also kind of sort this and just do a ton here in terms of what you are looking for. So you can look for videos with talent releases, 4K, editorial, all sorts of stuff. So it looks like that's just a video of a person opening a drawer. Stock footage is amazing. Now, in addition to adding the Storyblocks into the library, you can also do more with your library. So they've added the ability to sort, search, and do multiple selections on import into the library. So just more kind of file management stuff. This will actually be really nice, especially if you have a project that has a lot of components in it. The crop tool in the frame and fit portion of LumaFusion now has an edge softness and rounding option. So as you make your crops, you can also choose to add edge softness, or a feather is in some cases how this is described, like in Photoshop, as well as corner radiuses. So if you had a specific look that you were trying to achieve here, this may also help you. So that's a welcome addition. Okay, one thing that I really appreciate that's in this release is the nudge function. So when you're doing rotation, you can actually now nudge 1/2 a degree at a time. I would always rotate stuff and find myself just off by just a little bit. So now, as you can see, you can actually add 1/2 a degree of rotation. You can still take the wheel and actually start spinning it around, but then if you want to really kind of dial in, you can do that one way or the other with that nudge function. Those are also available for your X and Y positions. So as you can see here, you can also just tap, 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 and that's going to give you 1/10 increments here. Now under the color and effects palette in styles, you also have access to these 3 new features, which is the thermal style, which kind of makes things look like they're being shot through a thermal imaging camera. You've also got the X-ray feature. There we go. So kind of almost like an inverted look, but then it also looks like it's going kind of dropping out all the saturation and making some adjustments. That's actually kind of a cool effect, maybe for your horror movie or something like that. And then we also have color edges. It's basically taking the edges of each frame and highlighting them. There's also a filter effect in Photoshop called Edges that does a similar effect, which is pretty nice. You can also increase the intensity and then change the blend to either more or less on your frame. LumaFusion's also added 20 new text templates. I scrubbed through these. They're okay. They all kind of feel very 1996 clip art to me. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing here, but cool. Another addition to the library is the ability to pull EXIF data from a multitude of different file types, like TIFFs and PNGs. So the amount of EXIF data that you can see here is actually pretty cool. So this is a picture that I took. This is a picture that I took on a trip to the Caribbean 2 years ago. I think, 2 years ago. Well, here, let's check. When was it? This was about 1.5 years ago, May of 2017. So lots of EXIF data there, so you can see what the aperture value was, what the color space was. You can see the exposure, whether or not the flash fired, the ISO, white balance, and all sorts of information. So there's really a lot included here with this EXIF data update. So in addition to adding EXIF data and being able to support some additional library functions, LumaFusion is now supporting zip files, which are archive files that allow you to take multiple files and compress them together to save space. And now they can open them up for things like fonts and media and all sorts of stuff. So in addition to that stuff, it looks like there were some improvements and some fixes made. Let me just rattle those off. So there was a change made to the repair project option, which will kind of optimize your video and try to resolve any synchronization and export issues that you might be having. They have also fixed the Google Drive issue. I try to primarily use Dropbox for a lot of my content, but I do store some of it on Google Drive. If you've seen some of my previous videos where I talk about importing stuff into the iPad, I have used Google Drive in the past. That was creating some problems for me, and now it has been resolved, which is great. They've also just kind of generally cleaned up some audio sync issues and general errors that people were experiencing, and they've improved the stability of the platform. So really, if you kind of boil this down, we've got a couple of small improvements on the effect side, and really the major thing for this is, for this release, is the inclusion of the Storyblocks integration into the app. Now, since then, LumaFusion has already come out with an additional update that improves user interface with the new 2018 iPads with the edge-to-edge screen. But unfortunately, LumaFusion is still missing a couple of the features that I'm really looking for, primarily the ability to manipulate speed ramps, which is the option to have a video increase or decrease speed. You might go from 1x play speed, 100% play speed, to 200% play speed, but as you're doing that, it's actually increasing with a ramp instead of just from 100 to 200. So the speed ramp actually makes a pretty cool effect when you're using it. That would be a great addition. Stabilization is another thing that I would love to see in an update. I know there's a couple of apps out there that allow you to stabilize footage, but then you're taking footage, you're putting it on your iPad, you're throwing it through another app, who knows how much compression is being thrown on that footage, then you're putting it back into LumaFusion for additional editing and recompression, and then you start running into artifacts and all sorts of problems. I would really love to be able to do some basic stabilization within the application. Last but not least would be an improvement in the user interface for effects and color correction. Adobe Rush CC, while I know it's very bare bones and a lot of people are upset about the subscription model, I really do like the color controls that are in that app. They remind me of Final Cut and Premiere because that's really where they come from, is a desktop level environment. I would love to see that duplicated on the iPad. So just to summarize, speed ramps, stabilization, and an improved UI for effects and color correction. And I probably would stop editing on my Mac. The iPad would replace it. That would be it. I'd be done. Let me know down in the comments some of the things that you wish that they would add to LumaFusion. Go and hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for those of you who've been with me from the beginning, getting me up over 1,000. I know LumaFusion is a popular topic with the folks who are following my channel, so I thought that we would talk a little bit about this. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.